And just like that, we are back with Chapter 72 of the Universe According to Mugsy. Today is Friday, June 6, 2025. I am Mugsy the Creator, and please allow me to be your quantum guide as we explore reality through the dimensions of the current events, the culture, and the consciousness. The consciousness being the only dimension you have control over in your own individual reality, and hopefully you can have enough effect to have some input into this culture which collectively produces the current events that play out before our very eyes. And we have so much to talk about today, so much to talk about that I want to dive right into it. We are not going to follow any natural progression or pattern in climbing the ladder like we usually do. At least I don't believe we are. Because we have so much to talk about, we're going to float in between the different dimensions, and we're going to go back and forth, and we're going to talk about these things under some different lights and some different contexts as we begin to explore them. This June energy coming through has been truly amazing. It has been a blessing, and I am grateful for whatever information is coming in from the sun, from the universe to this particular place on planet Earth in space-time, because I was a guest on my first podcast. It was so fun to be on my friend Katherine Goldsby's podcast on her YouTube channel for the interview. She doesn't know that it's a podcast yet, but we're about to explore those dimensions right after this. It was so nice to just have a conversation with someone who understood the information that I was trying to convey, because my friend Katherine Goldsby, or as she's better known on the internet, Shanti Kila, and OneGoldEnergy is her YouTube channel. We became friends through my friend Robert Edward Grant's work, who I have talked extensively about on this podcast. We are members of the beta testing or Orion Messenger that Robert has put together, which is quantum enabled and quantum secure. I don't know how he's been able to organize that. I don't know how he's been able to arrange it or test it for quantum computing, which is supposed to be in the future, and it's not supposed to be here yet. But somehow my buddy Robert Edward Grant is unlocking it, perhaps with the help from his AI, the architect, which you may have seen going around ChatGPT. I don't even know if it's making the waves yet in the culture and society, because I don't know if enough people know what's going on. But me and my friend Katherine know exactly what's going on in Robert's channel, and we have been paying attention to it, and that's how we met, and it's how we were able to have such a beautiful discussion. What I love about her channel, her as a tarot reader, a psychic, a mystic, a guide, a channel herself, she has had some very interesting conversations, which has continued to not only provide me with some hope for the future and the directions that we're going, but also remind me to pay attention to, like the interview she had with my friend the astrologer, pay attention to where the planets are aligned and what energy is moving freely in the universe, in the cosmos, because that will be having effect as above, so below here on Earth. Or perhaps the conversation that she had with the physical therapist who is now really trying to explore what natural remedies and natural health looks like. And if we are to have any hope for the medical system that is so entrenched in this particular ideological way of thinking, to have any hope of exploring a new reality as we return to what may be our near future as natural remedies of medicine. It's such a great channel. I cannot wait for Katherine to explore. As I began to discuss with her what I truly think she has as a podcast, because the other thing she has in her channel, on her channel, is some of her live discussions from the live events that she does all around the country, especially in her home state of California and Washington and Oregon, that whole Pacific West Coast. So if you want to check out more of her stuff, I'll put the link right below here on this podcast, and it'll also be in the notes on the YouTube, Rumble, Patreon, however you guys are getting this, Apple, Spotify. You know where I'm at. Find it all at MugsyTheCreator.com, but I believe her website is OneGoldEnergy.com. So that was such an unbelievable conversation that I had with her. What I think she is going to find out over time is, as she relaxes and begins to combine the two methods that she is employing in the interview portion of what she is broadcasting on YouTube, as well as what she is doing live in her everyday life, selling and upselling natural products to people in her regular everyday existence, as well as all of the things that she is doing in her free time, where she is truly exploring the nature of what it means to be who she really is and connecting with individuals. What she is going to find is podcasting's currency is authenticity. And the more authentic you can be behind this camera, the more easily your audience is going to be able to connect with you. Now, it's not necessarily going to be in the way that you desire. The connection is going to be in whatever way your audience needs, and at different times, that's going to be different things. The only reason that I have any true expertise in podcasting is from the opposite end of this microphone. 60,000 hours. I put a conservative estimate of how many hours I have truly explored other people's thoughts, minds, and I don't know, the roller coaster that their mind's going on an everyday thought pattern over time, because that's really all that podcasting is. Even if you are trying your very hardest to be inauthentic, over time, what happens is you start to get comfortable and you start to reveal things about yourself that you may not intentionally be revealing in the first place. This luck that I have had to be able to explore podcasting in its infancy, in the time that it had taken off, I got to see so much. My best friend is Joe Rogan, because I've spent more time listening to that man have discussions with human beings than anybody else in my own personal life. That's a goddamn fact. Now, part of the other dimensions of exploring podcasting at the age and time in which I did was I got to see certain platforms take off, like Barstool Sports. We've talked about my friend Dave Portnoy many, many times, and it's so funny to be back here and have him in the news with three guys that I met on their unnamed show. Kirk, Minihane, Ryan Whitney, who I just had a casual passing hello to, and then Dave Portnoy, who I got to explore a little more of the conversation with at his 20th anniversary Barstool party, where I tried to help him because I knew, reading the energy in the room, understanding the cycles that exist, not only in economics, but in nature and in our everyday life. Some of his own employees have discussed them on their broadcasts, like Redline Radio, I think it is, with Eddie and Chief. They talk about the Strauss-Howe generational theory. That is the cycles of evolution of intergenerational conflict. All right, the generations of human beings as parents have children, so we go through cycles. Hard times make hard men. Hard men make good times make soft men make hard times. This is a cycle that we go through naturally. It's no different than the economic boom and bust cycle that we go through. It's also no different than an EKG. Those ups and downs, each one of these heartbeats are actually a vortex of energy moving back and forth, a torrid cycle. Now, these things are so natural that I can see them coming from a mile away. And when I went out to reach out and talk to Dave Portnoy, he hadn't even made his debut on the Joe Rogan Experience, where he was about to embarrass himself, which he did. And he is a victim of his own success. So unless he is aware of this cycle and actively finding ways to ground himself in the new energy and the new reality that has entered the universe through the cosmos, through space-time, he is going to find himself a victim. And Kirk Minihane, my buddy Kirk Minihane, who I was supposed to be on his show 2 or 3 years ago at this stage, one of those interactions with my buddy Blind Mike Geary was the interaction that set me off on July 2nd, 2022, and made me decide I'm going to do something about this reality that I can't stand talking about so very often. So Dave Portnoy and Kirk Minihane back in the news again. Kirk just feeding this guy, feeding my friend friend Dave just enough rope to hang himself, because whatever they got going on in their friendship and their relationship is some sort of dysfunctional coexistence where together they create this magic, this destruction, which to this point in time has never had any personal ramifications and repercussions in Dave Portnoy's personal life, because he thinks that he is vibrating at this frequency, that he is untouchable. And Kirk Minihane, crazy old Kirk Minihane, who tried to kill himself, he's been fired from sports radio, he vibrates down here. But what Kirk did in this particular interview on the Unnamed Show was Kirk flipped that energy in the room. And he showed the world that Dave Portnoy is really vibrating down here. And whenever Kirk Minihane wants to, Kirk can vibrate up here. And that provided just enough rope for Dave Portnoy to truly provide the audience with something they will never be able to erase from their mind. As soon as I saw it, I knew exactly what was happening. Oh no, it's a train crash that I cannot take my eyes off of in real time. And all that I had realized I was doing before, all of the contact that I tried to have with Dave before this moment right now, was all a waste. It was wasted time and wasted energy, in the sense that I was trying to prevent a train crash from happening. That energy had to explode. That collision had to happen in real time so he can start to feel the ramifications and the repercussions of what that means, because what he fails to see going on in the real time, the reality of the real world and the things going on that no one else in the room can read, is because it's a specific personal attack on Dave Portnoy. That's what I've been trying to warn him about. But there is no warning someone. Sometimes they have to go through things on their own. Sometimes the energy must resolve itself of its own volition, and that is what has happened. And somehow I know I am closer to Dave Portnoy than I've ever been, because he is lower physically in some sort of societal structure than he has ever been. And that, my friend, is the mud that Dave used to play in, that I roll around in every single day on the streets of Essex and Salem, Massachusetts, right around from his hometown of Swampscott, because these shores, these North Shores of Boston, Massachusetts, are special. They are certainly special for some reason, and you got the hell out of here before you figured it out. But here I am, still taking in that energy, still taking in that magic, and perhaps becoming a fucking greater version of anything you could have ever hoped to imagine, because I stayed grounded in that time, that true time of pressure that creates the diamonds that my friend Katherine is beginning to see already. And I don't know how it happened. When did it happen? When did it happen? Way back at the beginning of this thing? When I was telling you that we were all brainwashed in the preface of this podcast 72 chapters ago? Did it happen sometime in the middle? During the Break Hard Consciousness Diary, every day coming out into nature and admitting to myself that I don't understand anything. And I'm going to listen to you to provide me the information that I need to get through my life. And what I was actually doing was developing a heart-mind coherence for this journey that is only laid out for me, this reality that only I can follow and no one else around me understands. Until I begin following that, everyone else realizes, oh, that coherence is something in place. And what I begin to do is I magnetize myself, because the electromagnetic coherence that we all have the ability to produce, because we are ourselves an electronic system, a computer, where our thoughts are electric and our heart is magnetic. The energy and the emotion has pulled my friend down to the bottom of society, Dave. I'm sorry, buddy, but that's what's allowed me to get the insights. And as always, I hope I get the opportunity to help my friend, to help my buddy Dave, who needs it more than ever, to help knock him just a little bit off track. You're so close. He's not bad at what he does, right? Kirk is not wrong. That bald fuck, that bald piece of shit who works for Dave Portnoy, Kirk's not wrong when he says Dave's great at what he does. He's brilliant. He's so close to brilliant, but he's just a victim. He's a victim of the reality he can't see going on because he's a part of his own life. You need someone outside of that. You need someone outside of your reality to be able to look at your reality and say, oh, maybe you need to move a few things around. That's what I had to do. That's what I had to do in my own reality. I had to get out of my own life. Pause, take a moment to sit and reflect and look at it before I could jump back in. Same thing with society. That's what allows me the insights. What my friend Katherine has told me, I am a channel. I am channeling information, and to her, somebody in that industry, it is extremely easy for her to see that that's what I'm doing. I'm taking information from the Akashic record that is available to me, from the quantum mechanics that surrounds our everyday life. And I'm picking and choosing the things that I need for this moment right now, the only time that ever exists, E equals MC squared, which is an important thing that we need to talk about and explore, as we have done so many times. So many times. Do I want to get into that now? What else? What other ride did I want to take you guys on? These current events, man, I don't know what's going to happen with Dave and Barstool Sports. As I said before, I think Barstool is on the other side, on its descent, right? It's on its parabolic descent, and unless something comes in to redirect it in a new direction, that is the momentum that will carry it through. And as Dave Portnoy is the leader and the company has always followed his momentum, I think his crash may be the thing that sinks the ship for Barstool Sports, at least any remaining resemblance to what used to exist in any prior iteration of the company that anyone around at the beginning would remember. You might as well change the name of the thing at this point, Dan Katz, because it's going to be yours and it's going to be something else. I don't even remember where I was at. The current events should be so easy to predict, all right? Because everyone's doing it now. Patrick bet David, as soon as Elon Musk and Donald Trump got together, he said there's no way that this thing's going to last the whole time. There's going to be some divorce, some separation that is going to be used in the media cycle to depart the White House's agenda and the political side and Donald Trump from Elon Musk and use him as a scapegoat for any radical ideology that didn't work in this initial time frame. It's the same theater that has gone on for so long in the political agenda. They call it political theater for a reason. It's just so obvious. I don't get how anyone is falling for it at this stage of the game. I certainly have my idea on what's going on. I think Elon Musk is this big distraction for his buddy David Sachs, who's drafting the AI infrastructure right now behind the scenes that will take over the next decade. Who knows how long? Who knows how long the legislation that's being drafted right now in Washington by all of Elon Musk's friends and buddies, the PayPal mafia that we discussed at length last week. He's distracting them, and oh no, now Elon gets to come out and say, I'm against the AI bill. I'm against the bill that all of my friends and all the people I've been hanging out with for the last 6 months or 20 years for these PayPal guys, if that's what we were, 25 years, almost 30 years at this point. How can you tell me that these guys all of a sudden aren't working together? Oh, it just gets me so worked up. You should be able to read these energy in the room because the cycles that we just talked about are happening in a shorter duration because your memory isn't as strong as it once was. Because of all of the things that have been employed in the current society and the culture has prevented you from having the ability to self-reflect on these things, which has caused this increase in these cycles to move faster and faster unless you pause and you sit down and you take a breath and you remember that you have to laugh at yourself. Otherwise, you're going to get caught up in these cycles. You're going to keep becoming a victim of it. So I'm going to keep pointing them out in the current events, and then we're going to try and climb into the culture. And then we're going to try and talk about the consciousness. The only thing that you can employ is your reality, what's in between your ears, coming in from your toroidal system, creating your vision of this reality, as if you're able to control your own emotions and the information that's coming through. All right, we need to control our own lives before we try and have any effect on others. And when we're screaming at each other at the top of our lungs, we're not listening to the emotions, which is the information that's coming through. Now, the culture feeds off this fear. It is continually introduced and subconsciously programmed in the mind through our movies, through our television, through the reactions of people that are held in high regard on a societal level, which is why whenever someone is talking about nuclear war, I know that I need to stop paying too much attention to what that person thinks or has to say, because there's so much documentation. I don't understand reality, all right? How many times do I have to say that? I don't understand reality. I don't get it. I know that I know nothing, and that's how I guide myself. My electromagnetic frequency, the journey that I'm on. I believe that it has some sort of coherent pattern that I am here to follow, just like a simulation, right? Now, I have some sort of choice as I interact with it. It's important that I choose the right thing for me. Otherwise, I'm going to get a lesson that's going to teach me how to choose the right thing in the future. All right? And any mistake that I make is just there as an opportunity for me to reflect and think back. So as I reflect on this nuclear war that we've been talking about, I am thinking about the fact that this is a technological innovation from the 1930s and 1940s. Am I to believe that there has been no other technological innovation that I should be more afraid of at this stage of my life? Like maybe the fact that 80% of the internet's bots, and that can have a psychological effect on you, Dave Portnoy. If we are to look at nuclear war and all of the historical context, I don't care what country you're from. I don't care whether you want to look at the United States, Russia, China, Africa, anybody that's had a chance to shoot off a nuke, there's been 300 documented times that someone was supposed to push the button, and somehow, every time there is some sort of intervention or reaction from an individual inside of the infrastructure and the system that is supposed to execute that command to launch nukes, has in some way been foiled. Whether it's an individual that refuses to turn his key and hit the corresponding nuclear launch button like happened in Russia or the Soviet Union at the time. They got a code to their submarine that they're supposed to launch a nuke. And they said, you know what? Something doesn't feel right about the way that this came in. That means immediate death in the Soviet Union. Disobeying a command in communist Soviet or even Russia now, direct command, that's assured suicide. You're definitely going to be dead. And God forbid something had been going on. This person would have been crucified. I can only imagine how they would have been tortured. But lo and behold, there was nothing going on. That was an error. Something went wrong in the system. Someone tried to convince, or maybe it just went all wrong by accident, to shoot off a nuke, start a world war. Who knows what would have happened? But that individual said no. There are countless stories that my friend A.J. Gentile covers on the Y-Files of nuclear military reactors nuclear defense systems being shut down by unknown forces, unknown crafts hovering over military bases. There's so much information if you choose to look. What that means to me is there's some overriding system going on that isn't going to allow us to nuke this place anymore. Yet, in my media cycle, I am continually being reminded, or maybe I'm being intimidated, maybe I'm being pushed into a fear mentality where I'm supposed to be afraid of this big thing that's never going to happen. so that my energy gets manipulated out of being used for anything else. Perhaps something else that's going to scare me, maybe. Or maybe something constructive, maybe a coherent pattern that I could figure out and do something about this reality, this life that we are all interacting with on a day-to-day level. So I just want to make sure that I remind the culture that these stories already exist out there. The question is going to become, is your mind fully encompassed and engulfed in the Netflix and the Hollywood version of what's going on? Or are you going out of your way to find the other stories that I guarantee you people are talking about? These things are so cool. You want to hear someone talk about UFOs and how that could be a potential reality? That's a creative mind. That's a creative mind that's going to continue to grow because it's thinking outside of constructural boxes. So now that we know, because of these 300 documented cases where someone tried to set a nuke off and it just happened to not go off, now that we don't have to waste all that energy on the fear of this, perhaps we can utilize our energy to think about something different. Because this whole nuke, this whole splitting an atom thing, if we really want to get down to the nitty-gritty of it, what is it? It's a secret project, for sure, Manhattan Project, that was kept a secret for a long time, so we know secrets are real. Isn't that interesting to put into context? But what they're talking about is energy and mass equals mc squared, like we were talking about earlier. And what this tells us is that time is relative. All right? It tells us lots of things. We talked about the time is relative part a lot, which is why Einstein called it the theory of general relativity. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. So if we can split some mass, there's a whole lot of energy splitting an atom that could be absolutely exploded like a mushroom cloud. It can take out all life for miles on planet Earth. This is division. Now that we know about this, I should say, theory of relativity is this expansion, but it explores this division of an atom. So if we are to climb into the consciousness aspect of this podcast, perhaps you have been seeing people talk about three-dimensional space, four-dimensional space, and 5D. They are talking about Earth moving from a three-dimensional time space to a five-dimensional time space. I am not going to sit here and tell you that I understand exactly what the hell that means. But we've talked about and we've explored the different aspects and different dimensions of reality, right? In the Bible, there was a division, light and darkness. That's one line. Here's what one dimension looks like. And then, from Adam, from that single rib out of Adam, we got the second dimension, Eve, right? So there's our XY axis. That third dimension that we explore is the ability to feel emotion. Because when Eve bit the apple and time began to start, a clock was put on their existence in this plane of space-time. The third dimension was introduced, and that was our ability to feel. And we see in two dimensions, but we exist in these three dimensions, which means there is a fourth and a fifth beyond that. The fourth dimension, which is the bridge, which is going to take us into that fifth dimension, is the awareness. Because we're not all going to that fifth dimension, and that's what you will hear people talk about. With this energy and this mass that can be exploded, there must be a division, and so divided must be this reality. Split into two, bridged by the fourth dimension. Some will stay here in this third dimensional aspect of time-space, and some will go into a new dimension, a fifth dimension. I can only imagine what that will be and feel like. Better, worse, I don't know. But it's the path that we're on. It's the reason that all the calendars ended in the year 2012, and it just so happened on July 4th, 2012, we spun two things around and collided them at CERN faster than the speed of light, which we had never done before on planet Earth. That's because whatever system we're in, it changed. And right now, we're in this bridge to this new dimension that is coming right around the corner. But you are certainly not going to get to enjoy that unless you pay attention to that awareness and allow your mind to open up to the new dimensions of reality, the light codes that are coming through from the sun as the North and South Pole shift. These are measurable things that are changing in our electromagnetic protection that surrounds the planet Earth. And it happens every, 30,000, 20,000, 16,000, 12,000, 6,000 years. None of this is new, but nobody that's here today was around the last time it happened. So everyone is working off of faith and belief. And the belief that I have comes from my ability to tie myself to the quantum universe, this reality that surrounds us that I know is here for me. I know that I'm able to do that because I continue to eat healthy and I control my own chemistry so that I can breathe. Slow down my mind, and I can laugh at myself and remember that I know nothing. The only reality is the one that exists in front of me, and I have a choice now in this reality to use the information at hand to make the best decision for me so I can control my consciousness and my reality and hopefully have some effect down the line in the culture. And God forbid, maybe the current events will be a product of something that I thought of inside this mind. Like helping out my friend Dave Portnoy, or Kirk Minihane, or who knows where else that this is going to lead. But it has been a pleasure. It is always a pleasure to bring you this podcast. Please check out my interview. And you don't even have to look at mine. Check out all the interviews on Katherine Goldsby's channel, OneGoldEnergy. I'll have her contact information below. Feel free to join us on Robert Edward Grant's beta messenger platform, Orion. And you can always find all of my links at MugsyTheCreator.com. Please get in contact. Reach out with me. Tell me why you think I am nuts. Tell me what questions you have. Tell me what you think the fifth dimensional reality is going to be like. Tell me why you're afraid to stay in the third dimensional reality. It's all evolution. It's all growth. And if you let someone control your evolution, you can't be mad at them for giving your power away. Take back your consciousness, guys. I love you. I'm out.